What is going on, my fellow entities? It's your boy, the Universal Entity, back at it again. And today we have yet again another video about dating and relationships, primarily about from a well, this is actually something from Jordan Peterson. However, it isn't his actual YouTube channel. It's from a YouTube channel called Dose of Truth. It has a little over 250,000 subscribers, so you can go subscribe to him. And again, remember to like, dislike, share the video, and subscribe to my channel. Now, this video is a very short video. It's like just over 6 minutes long, and of course, because they're going to more than likely say some stuff at the end about subscribe to my channel or something like that, then it's going to be like probably six minutes 10 seconds in actuality, but yeah, who knows. But after this video, guys, I'm definitely going to have to be doing something along the lines of some religious, spiritual, cultural type of video, because, or even just something that's just informative or educational, because again, this is primarily a channel that are like similar to like red pill, manosphere topics, dating, relationships, etc. But I don't want this channel to be just that. I want it to cover almost all, if not all, aspects of life. But I do want to put a primary focus on those things because, again, we as human beings, we are social creatures. So it says types of men and women that use Tinder. And if you guys have previously watched my last video, you would have actually seen that in actuality, I actually did react to a Kevin Samuels talking on the No Jumper Clips channel, and because he had talked about stuff about dating apps, just very briefly about stuff that had like change and so on, I was like, you know what, let me go give this thing a try. Let me go and actually be like, you know what, yeah. So with that being said, let's get into the video.
There was a study I saw, I think it was last year, on this very question of who uses dating apps and sort of their personality traits and so on. And they did indeed find, and these were just university students, which, take it for what it's worth, but the people who were using the dating apps, which is about 1/3 of the students in the sample pool, they were sort of more likely to be interested in short-term sexual conquest, not really surprised, more interested and more likely to use drugs and alcohol, more likely to have sort of callous sexual attitudes. I can't remember the exact term they used for this construct, but basically they were more likely to agree with statements like sex is like a game where one person wins and the other person loses. So if you're using a dating app, you're more likely to say yes to that kind of question. So in a way, I think you're right.
There's a status element to that. I mean, there's the old trope of notches in the bed frame, and among competitive adolescent males, there's no reason. There's every reason to be competitive about how much you can drink and how many people you can lure into bed. I mean, even if you don't necessarily believe that personally, at a deep level, and maybe you suffer for it emotionally to some degree, even though you might obscure that from yourself, it's certainly something to score points with your peers. And there's plenty of that kind of, that competitive bantering in adolescent, especially adolescent male culture. And I mean, it's not surprising to some degree because adolescent males have to figure out how to navigate the sexual landscape. And they're going to do that in all sorts of awkward and finally unproductive ways. It's not an easy thing to bind or to regulate properly. But I mean, these technologies like Tinder is a transformative technology. And it's radically underestimated in terms of its potency because it produces hyper-successful predatory males and reduces rejection. It eliminates rejection because, I mean, you can be totally rejected, in which case you're a failure on Tinder. But in normal pre-mating interaction, let's say, there's a high probability of rejection, especially on the part of males. And that technology...
Well, there's actually research on this.
Yes.
On Tinder.
Yes.
So there's research basically showing that. So on Tinder, women they like, swipe right. They like the profiles of only 4% of the men that they see on the app. Where,
I've seen a lot of studies, or I heard more or less people talking about studies that say that women only find up to like maybe 15% of all men on dating apps aren't so attractive. I think the lowest I've ever heard up to this point is maybe around 5. No, sorry, not 5. Like maybe 7%, depending on the dating site and like what year it was or over what amount of period of the study or statistical data being provided. But 4 is definitely the lowest I think I've ever heard in my entire life for any dating site. That is very low, guys. That's very low. And to speak upon things that they were talking about just a while ago in regards to that being unproductive and so on, yes, I do agree that when it comes down to stuff, even something sexual like masturbation or those other stuff, not being able to pursue education, a career, going to the gym or doing home exercise or etc., or even just trying to help other people with other stuff. That's like I have a smaller sibling who I'm able to like help out with stuff, which is my way of kind of keeping productive outside of like reading up on the Bible and those other stuff during like the summer or Christmas time, like when school is out essentially. So yeah, men have definitely become a lot less productive in the last couple of decades of human history. Like even just the last 5 decades, men have become so unproductive. It's not even funny. We've become so good at like creating technology, make our lives easier, that when it comes down to the more social aspect of life, we are definitely a lot less productive than we have throughout probably all of human history. And rejection has become a lot easier online too. Because then you're like, well, we're in a world full of 8 billion people. If half of that is like women, and then like you narrow that down to half of people who, may find you somewhat attractive because maybe they're straight or bisexual, so you can say maybe half of that don't like it is like either lesbians or people who are extremely old or people who are extremely too young to even be on these dating sites. It's alright, that's not down to half. Then maybe you're not down to another half because maybe you're like an English speaker and they don't really speak English. Alright, cool. You're not down to another half of people who are probably around like your age range. Some people like cougars and all this type of stuff, but let's just assume that like if you're like 25, you're going to be okay dating like maybe 30 to like 20. That's around your dating range or something like that. And then you narrow that down to maybe a third of that because maybe you like certain things, tattoos, no tattoos, religious or not, etc. And then by the time you look at it, it's like things kind of add up though. But God Almighty, wow. Things add up, guys. Things add up. Things really do add up. And we're just like 2.5 minutes into this.
As for men, when they see female profiles, they swipe right or like more than 60%. That's 60% of the profiles they see.
So that's really worth concentrating on, because that's a great example of hypergamy. Right? So women mate across and up success hierarchies, and men mate across and down. Right. So, and the women like men who are about 4 years older, cross-culturally. They like men who manifest signs of success, as well as being handsome and personable and all of that. And the reason for that, as far as I can tell, is that they're looking to equalize the economic disparity that exists because women take a harder hit from sex and pregnancy than men. So they're looking to equalize that. And no wonder they're looking for someone who's competent. This is for long-term mating, who's competent and generous, right? You want both of those. So competence would be intelligence, general cognitive ability, and the markers that go along with that. They want conscientiousness or openness, as well as other desirable personality traits. And they want generosity, honesty, all of those. But so they're looking for someone who can provide. Well, it's not because they're greedy precisely. It's because, well, they're going to put themselves in a more vulnerable position if they have a child. And we know this because even affluent women who have a child by themselves or who get divorced tend to drop down the socioeconomic hierarchy a fair bit, which is, of course, why alimony payments and all of that are necessary. So this hypergamy means women are much more selective in their mating than men are, and that's true cross-culturally. And it's not surprising because they pay a bigger price for sex. It's more dangerous for women because they can get pregnant, and it might be more dangerous emotionally as well. And I believe that would be a reflection of their higher levels of agreeableness and higher levels of negative emotionality. So women do put themselves at risk more. And that might be why there's such a intense debate about what constitutes consent on campuses, despite these beliefs in polyamory and all of these things. But so anyways, on Tinder, as you said, women select 4.
Yes, I kind of want to like focus on that first a bit because so primarily two things. The last thing was about like what considers as consent on campuses, because a lot of people get up and say, well, technically speaking, as human beings, our brains don't really mature all the way until we're like between the ages of like 25 to 30. You get me? So like, especially that guy, I've heard so many times that like, listen, like a guy isn't really at his fullest mentally until like 30 years old. So I don't want no man that's even in his 20s. All right, that's a fair point. But you're like 21, and I'm pretty sure your brain ain't done maturing either. So like, just cool it down. If you're like a woman and you're probably like, I don't know, 25, 27 and above, fine, do your thing. But for some of you young girls, like 19, 20, 23, just cool off. If you get it, that's all right. But if that's like the bare minimum requirement, then as I said, ease off. By right, the oldest guy you should be having in your arsenal, if you're like saying your 20s as a woman, is like probably preferably like a guy that's maybe 4 years older. If you're like 26, a guy in the 30s, it's not bad. Not bad at all. Not a bad arrangement, especially if you know he ain't worthless in terms of like what he provides and so-called brings to the table. But my God, some of you girls are too wild out there. And you get drunk, you take pills, don't remember anything, it's a bit hazy, and then your guys are like, oh my gosh, I didn't give you consent. He didn't touch my body. I didn't give him consent, and all that type of rubbish. Rubbish from the depths of Tartarus. From the pits of Tartarus, guys. I swear. If you guys know anything about Greek mythology. Yeah. So so that along with what he had said prior to that. I just want to kind of concentrate on the consent thing, because like sometimes I get, that's something that can really, depends on how it is worded by somebody in a conversation, even that can trigger me. I'm like, yo, this guy did not do anything wrong to you, like, calm down, ease out. Yeah, but I've heard a lot of things, especially like on the Fresh and Fit podcast and other podcasts, about like why women are so selective and are very selfish. Because a lot of times, like, if you really sit down and listen to those podcasts, when they ask certain questions about men, you get what I'm saying? Like, generally speaking, like if it was a guy on the street, they're gonna give us some answers. But when you sit down and listen to stuff that they say about their partner, or potential future partner, and you talk about stuff as well as like their sons, or a male family member that they love very much, that is like blood, that is like as close to them as a son, they give some very, very contradicting answers compared to like what you asked them prior to that. And I understand that you're going to say, well, because they're closer, so obviously that's very true. But even as a guy, or even some females probably can say something upon this. Generally speaking, there tends to be a major difference between a guy on the road and a girl on the road. Sometimes a guy drop down or so, another guy might actually help him, to be honest. You get what I'm saying? You guys get what I'm saying? Like this is like this manly thing where like sometimes a good guy might come in or so. When a girl drops, the whole world wants to stop time, everything. That's help this one girl that they have no idea. You get what I'm saying? But they won't really do it back. If they saw a guy that they're like, oh my gosh, let me feel this stamp it on TikTok. Guys will actually try to do something like with a stranger. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, there are a lot of things that men do to women that they won't really do back, because they're very selfish. Some of them are a bit delusional because they have a one or two simp with them, But yeah, it's really crazy sometimes to think about it, guys. And this is kind of like why I said I want to really do another video off of these topics, because sometimes what it is that I really want to like articulate myself, but I just get a little bit too emotional or so on. It's like I lose my words in the moment, right? Even as I'm like talking, because I know I could have said some of this stuff in a much more articulate manner. You get what I'm saying? My lexicon is not really limited, but it's more like just how I am in the moment. So yeah, please forgive me. The universal entity has not yet like unlocked my universal vocabulary, or is, I don't know, guys. I don't know. I know I'm not dumb. All right, I know I'm not done. I am not dumb, but it's just it's a different thing when you don't really like plan out what you plan to say. As I said, guys, I'm gonna learn as time goes on. I'm gonna learn as time goes on, but yeah, this is exactly why I have 7 subscribers at the moment. At the moment, guys, this is why I have 7 subscribers, because I'm not articulating myself that well. Like, I know the words, but it's like I get so emotional in the moment about like what I want to say that it's like I have to either slow down or something. I have to work on this, guys. But trust me, I'll get there.
4% of the men.
Yeah.
So that means,
and I would imagine that 4% is very high up on what you're calling the success hierarchy. I have a friend, a good-looking guy. He was very active on Tinder for a while, and he accumulated more than 20,000 matches on the app.
20,000.
20,000, and he was so successful that Tinder pinpointed him early on and gave him all kinds of free perks and bonuses, and lifted his radius restrictions, gave him the Tinder Gold app or whatever version of it, basically trying to entice him to continue to use the app. Yeah, they wanted to entice him.
This is so amazing.
They never want you to leave.
These are unbelievably pernicious and vicious broad-scale social experiments that are far more potent than anything like government policy.
Well,
he's in Genghis Khan territory with 20,000.
I don't know if he slept with all 20,000.
Yeah, well, maybe my 10, suspicions are he tried. And I know
he'll get a kick out of that.
That records for like athletes, for example, and movie stars, there's some of the men have reportedly slept with thousands of women. Yes, Wilt Chamberlain, and there's others who are in the same category. But they're men who have women throwing themselves at them all the time, lining up for them. And I've read biographies of people who had that sort of thing happen as well.
But that's not the typical male experience.
No, the typical male experience is all rejection.
Nothing.
Wow, guys. So yeah, that's apparently that's the end of the video. Like I said, it was kind of a short one, but I just kind of talked a bit too much. Yeah, I liked how Jordan Peterson. It's like what I did right there. Like I almost forgot Jordan Peterson, like how to like say it, even though the name is like right in front of me, which just shows me that it's not limited vocabulary or anything like that. It's just taking my time, making my way downtown to the book of knowledge, and just the book of experience and what for it. But yeah, I really do like what's happening right here, guys. I'm not really sure if I'm really going to like watch that much more of this channel, because there are so many channels that are like rip off Jordan Peterson videos that is like, because maybe he didn't capitalize on those stuff early enough back in the day, like videos are like 4 or 5 years old, that is like, if he had his channel, I don't really know how old his channel is, but if he had probably capitalized on those videos from before, then he probably would even be even greater than what he is right now in regards to like subscriber count and those type of stuff. But yeah, shout out to him, and again shout out to Dose of Truth. You guys can sub to his channel if you want. Well, I don't know, I feel like there's enough Jordan Peterson videos out there from different YouTubers that I won't have to necessarily stick with this guy. Get what I'm saying? And plus, eventually I am going to go onto his channel and react to some stuff though. But I don't know. Jordan Peterson is also one of those guys that at the beginning, because of how he was like the way he speaks to others, it's almost like trying to like read the Bible sometimes. It's like sometimes some stuff, and then it's like, thou shalt not speak it, and you know what I'm saying, it's not like typical standard English sometimes. And I think that's because of like my limited vocabulary, my limited lexicon, because like, he has a PhD and so on, and he has more than 40 years of experience, so he is more than capable of speaking some words that I definitely would have to Google. Get what I'm saying? But typical YouTube channels, I don't really have to worry about those stuff. But sometimes they'll speak some stuff and I'm like, maybe I can understand for the context of like the conversation he's having, but not all the time. Sometimes I do have to like, be that person. Oh, and by the way, to next week, like for whatever week I'm posting this out, right? The following week will be a time of when I will have to like, I don't know if you guys can hear that in the background, but yeah, younger sibling, right? Next week I will have to try to get some more videos out because last week I have officially free to myself before school opens up back. So yeah, you guys have that to look forward to. One more week of maybe like 3 to 5 more videos, and then that's it. At least for January. Maybe I might post 1 or 2 videos for the next couple months though, but yeah, I'll mostly be concentrating on schoolwork and that type of stuff. So yeah, good video overall. Still good video overall. Yeah, Genghis Khan, huh? Genghis Khan of the Tinder world. Wow, 20,000 to maybe lower to like 10,000 matches. That's still a lot, guys. If I was able to get results like those, like in Jamaica for like dating apps like say Tagged or so on, that I'll be good, because we have like a population of like what's like 3 million. So and like half of that is like like women. So like 1.5 1.4 females on this island. Then maybe a lower that into half. That's like roughly 700,000. Yeah, it's like roughly 700,000 females, and you lower to a half to like females within my age range. That's probably like, I don't know. That's probably like maybe like 100,000 females on the island right now that are exactly around like my early to mid 20s age range, maybe even ages like 19 and so on. So like, yeah, when you really think about stuff like that, it's really you know what I'm saying, like those numbers would be high. That for me to get like 10,000 out of that little slot, it would be like basically 10% of all females on the island would love me off it. They would love me. Yeah, but yeah, it's a nice looking video, very short and sweet. As again, I'm usually talking too much and probably over 15 minutes now any time, but a good video nevertheless. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, dislike, subscribe, share the video, subscribe to the guys channel, and Universal Entity. Oh my gosh, hear the noise in the background. Universal Entity